Hello, my name is Tobias Heiler and I'm one of the founders of BrainBoost. In this webinar, we give you an overview over our BrainAssistant feedback games and applications. We will also give you some insights in how you can do advanced feedback settings for each game individually. So meaning you can change the individual gameplay of every game, not linked to any thresholds, but also linked on those settings you can apply. So stay tuned and enjoy the following webinar.
Let's get started. Yes, let's go. So today's webinar, first of all, an announcement. We have a new website. You can check that out. It's called brainassistant.academy. Yes, no .com or .de or anything, just brainboost.academy. And since we do a lot of supervisions, training for therapists, people said you need your own homepage for that. So feel free to check it out and also give us some feedback on it. Now, today is about what games or applications or what combination, and you can see here game and movie, just two games, makes sense, or at least what's the philosophy behind the different games and how do we use them in our training. Well, an overview, our BrainAssistant works with the following hardware components. We are working and talking to different hardware manufacturers. So if you know a hardware manufacturer and you think, hey, why doesn't the BrainAssistant work with that? Please feel free to contact us and maybe we can contact them as well and talk to them. Now, the BrainAssistant. All you guys know, when you open the application category, you see a ton of games. Now, with 3 categories, I'm not talking about the free, basic, premium. And some games, obviously, or some games, they belong to 2 categories, so it's not a very sharp way to say this game belongs to a certain category. What do I mean with different categories and media center? First of all, here is a rough definition of the categories we think of in our games when we design new games and have new gameplays we design. There are games that are basically an infinite play games or consistent gameplay. I will come to that. Many of you guys know the monk, the focus master floating up or down. So basically infinite, you can play that forever. Then there are games that have a defined goal. So, and a game progress, like the flight map game, right? So you start in Munich and then you land in San Francisco. So this is a clear defined goal. It's a different way to play. I will come to that later on in detail. And then, then there are controller games that have a motorical challenge to it, that have maybe more action for players to it, maybe some more frustration to some people to it. And then we have the media center, where we have movies, music, podcasts you can listen to. So, infinite play, consistent gameplay. So let's go through the games. I highlighted the games that we will consider consist or belong to the infinite play, consistent gameplays. And I will also later on tell you when we use what kind of game type. So for everybody who didn't play those, please play with them and try them. There's the ocean dive. It's a circle going enlarging itself and then shrinking. So it's a game you can play basically forever. Similar to the Focus Master Classic, Focus Master. So these games are games you can maybe use in the beginning of a training. I will come later on to a little bit more training planning. These games, they have the advantage that you don't depend on any time, right? So you can play those for 3 minutes in the beginning, 3 minutes in the end. If the movie is over and you say, I got 3 minutes or 5 minutes left, I kind of want to start a game, but I cannot, start the dragon game with several levels. So these games are always good to sneak them in when you have just a little bit of time, but also if you want a person to really get warm with the training, to really find their rhythm. These games, they don't have, like, for example, flight map, a concrete goal you want to reach, and if you reach that goal, then you're already there. But some people feedback, I'm kind of right now I'm starting to warm up. So these infinite gameplays, also like the 7 Cs, for example, I know at the end you reach a goal and you go back on land. So as I said, it's kind of like tough to just define a game to one of those categories. Dragonfly, you can fly around. Waterfall, jumper, feeding animals. Jumper, it goes infinite, you can jump forever. And some people also like to play a game for a very long time. Like I have hardliners who play Focus Master for 30 minutes straight. So play around with with these games, and be aware, you can basically always play those games. One more thing, and there some of those games are supposed to be maybe a little boring or a little like, you know, they don't have a huge progress. Like the Focus Master will always be the same background, always be the same game concept, which is also nice for some people who have, for example, attention deficit, because they then say, well, I have attention deficit and this game is kind of getting boring after 3 minutes. Then you can also use that as a challenge and say, today it's not about a puzzle or a flight. Today is about sticking with it, and I will tell you when we're done. Like they have no idea when, you know, when you're going to stop with Focus Master or when you stop with Ocean Dive. Now, defined goal or game progress. With Flight Map or puzzle, it is super clear when we finish the puzzle, we are done. Dragon Bay, when we're done with the level, we are done. Same here with 7 Seas, for example. It was at the same category before, but here you can say we played until we're really done, but it's quite a long journey. But you can also say, if you haven't played it, try it out. It has some treasures, so you stop once in a while, you stop at an island, and then you need to open like a treasure. And you can say until the 3rd treasure hunt is over. So you also have some sort of a defined goal. Also depending on, you know, how the frustration tolerance is. I will come later on towards, for example, the puzzle, because you can do some fine-tuning, and this is what this webinar is also about, that you don't always have the same puzzle size and you don't always have like roughly the same goal. You can also change the goals of, for example, how long and how tough the puzzle game is going to be. 3rd category is a controller game, and as you can see, for example, Tetris, you can play that, and here you have, make sure you use an Xbox controller, an original Xbox controller. Okay, don't buy a ripoff. Buy the original Xbox controller. It's like, I don't know, 60, 70 bucks online. You can connect it via Bluetooth. It even comes in super fun colors, so you can stay excited and buy new colors. And connect it with an Xbox controller. And for example, Tetris, it's very challenging. It's performing under pressure. You really need, you know, to not stress yourself. It's for people who haven't played it, the negative feedback would be it gets all blurry and the drop speed increases. So then people get super stressed. So the message here is also motorically stay calm, don't overcompensate, invest 1 or 2 blocks dropping down to calm to come back. Also with Dragon Bay, you need to control the dragon with the left stick and then jump with your right thumb, pressing A. For some people, like kids, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, this might be a huge challenge. They might, you know, move the sticks and the buttons in a different way they're not supposed to. You know, they use different fingers. I wouldn't even think of how to press those buttons. So it's also a motorical challenge and exercise, but also grown-ups, you know, there's people that never had these Xbox controllers in their hands. So there's an additional challenge, and there's like a basic control over that game. So people say, okay, well, does it have to do with neurofeedback or anything, or what's up with that? Well, you have part of control, like the dragon game. You can walk around, you can jump, you can spit fire, but then suddenly you need energy to jump. You need energy to spit fire. Blocks are start to shake when you have a negative feedback. So it's a nice combination. Just like in real world, there are parts you can control, but then there are external factors that you can't. So with those controller games, you have a very nice immersive gameplay. And obviously, there's the media center, and you can use it for films or movies. You can control the dimmer, so brightness. You can control the entire Windows system sound. You can watch whatever you want on any browser, Netflix, Spotify, Netflix, Disney Plus, etc. But you can also listen to music on Spotify, on YouTube, whatever you like, or listen to podcasts. And I will come later on to another function you can use. You can do school exercises or anything you want also, because you can just use the dimmer and drag it on top of whatever you like. I will show that in a second. Now, basic overview of our games, how they're, maybe you took a closer look already, but maybe you haven't paid attention to what you actually all see on the screen. So the obvious thing is here, top left, you see the client's name, Max Muster. So whatever you type in here as a default name, as a nickname, will be displayed here. Then you have a progress, and the progress also implies bonus points. So here on the top, you can check it out with the 7 Seas, for example. You have those little treasure icons. And so you can say, you know, for example, if this monk floats up or down, basically infinite. But you can say, if people get frustrated and you say, we only did like 3 minutes, I want to do 5 or 7 minutes, you can say, you know, until here checkpoint 1 or checkpoint 2, and you even get bonus points with that. And also for positive feedback, here you get a combo bar, so you multiply a certain amount of points as well. So kind of there's also more gameplay, which especially like teenagers or young clients are used to, that you get motivated. And here top right, you collect points, and you can use those points in every game to buy new characters, new airplanes, new dragons, whatever you like. Important, some people they don't even know that 100 blue coins equals 1 golden, and 100 golden equals 1 red. So if a person has 1 red and 20 golden, and something costs, you know, 50 golden stars, they can afford it, because then you have 0 red and then you have 70 golden one left. So it goes in both directions. It's like cents and then dollars or euros. And now here on the left side, and this might not be clear, but this is a pretty cool feature. We have a brain bar. This is the large bar here. And this gives you the direct information if there's a positive or a negative feedback. Pay attention to that. It's quite rapid. So it's blue, if it drops a little bit, green, yellow, and then red. And so this is how also some people say, you know, the games maybe sometimes a little colorful, I get distracted. So to kind of drag themselves back into an attention state, they can just take a look here and have a very fast, rapid feedback. Am I going towards the right direction, or like a rather drifting off, or like a negative feedback direction? Because sometimes these characters, they're rather a little fatigued or a little slow to speed up and slow down. And so here you have a direct feedback. And then there's this tiny little small bar. It's called progress bar. And it gives you the information for a longer time period if you have a positive or negative feedback. Pay attention to that. And it triggers an event, because it fills up when you have positive feedback. It needs some time to fill up. It depends. I will come to that on a difficulty setting. It needs like 3 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds, depending on the settings, to fill up. And once it's completely full, or with negative feedback completely filled red downwards, then you trigger an extra event. Like here in the screenshot, you see when you played the meditation, the focus master, if it is completely full, this is why it's white here, it needs to refill. There is like an event effect volume. Here in this game, it goes gong. And then you have also visual effect. Like for example, here, this is what you see here, effect volume. You see on the left side, it's separate from the background music. Effect volume is triggered with this progress bar. So you can also disable the effect sound if people get annoyed by that, but some people get this extra positive feedback or negative feedback, because here in this game, if you stay down there and maybe you create too many artifacts, or you have too much theta, not paying attention, then here the water colors itself red, and you have a very annoying sound, like a buzzer, negative buzzer. And so some people like that and say, this kind of brings me back on track and kind of makes me realize, okay, I was out there for a couple of seconds. Some people say, it's a little too much. Then you can play around with this effect volume. Different games. Here, this is feeding animals. For people that don't know the game, positive feedback is the food is getting lowered, so close to the animal, and the animal is approaching the food. So the progress bar, here it will fill up. I know it's the old design, but it looks very similar. With a positive feedback, the progress bar needs to fill completely up. Then it triggers even an event. The event will be that your animal is getting food and is eating. Negative would be the animal goes away and then stands in the rain. I know it's sad, but you know it's okay. We're not harming any animals. Don't worry. And this is, for example, the jumper. And the jumper, if you played it, you know it's zooming in and out on the person you play. But only if this progress bar is completely filled up, the jump is being triggered. So if some people played that game and think it's randomly jumping, no, it's linked to the progress bar. If the progress bar is filled up completely, then you jump. If it's negative, then you get this like kind of darkish screen, and it's not too harsh, the negative progress effect, but the positive one is triggering in like a concrete event. Now, what can you do? When you play a game, you can use these settings. You might have noticed that there is expert profiles. These expert profiles, they look like this. So when I start an application, let's use, doesn't matter, the media center. Here it says easy, medium, hard, extreme. So what does it do? Well, here is a little more detailed view on that. So I'm going to start the media center. And you see here, I can switch easy, medium, hard, extreme. And with the media center, it changes how fast, depending on positive and negative feedback, the dimmer turns dark or bright and the volume gets turned up or down. But you can always, in every game, click on this button here, okay? And this button will open special settings. I know it looks a little complicated. It's not. For example, here with the volume, you can set sensitivity for positive and negative feedback. What does that mean? Well, the sensitivity for negative feedback is how fast, how many seconds, should it take for negative feedback that the volume is at the lowest point you set up. Like if you set up 0, then it takes 2 second negative feedback until you reach 0. If you do that for a dimmer, here you can also change this one. Now, you can play around with this. And then also for the positive feedback. And you can always, if you say, oh, I screwed it up, what's a good value? Well, what should I do? Don't worry, the panic button would always be here. You see, now it's jumping back and forth. You can always press easy, medium, hard, extreme. And you see, easy setting would be negative effect takes 3 seconds until you reach the minimum volume, but only half a second of positive feedback until you hear every sound. So this is what these buttons do. They do more depending on the game, but this is something they do. They also simultaneously change the minimum transparency of the dimmer, but you can, do this depending on your preference. And also volume, obviously, it needs to be, to a reasonable amount of lowest and maximum volume. So play around with these expert setting. For some games, this might be pretty interesting. And let's take a look at some games where you can change this. Here's one thing I was talking about. Now here, this slide talks about progress bar settings. And unfortunately here it says brain bar. Yes, we're just humans. We're going to change this. Hopefully in the future, when you rewatch this webinar, your BrainAssistant, it will be called progress bar. Because one more thing, this is supposed to be progress bar. It says linear progress. Linear progress means when you have a positive feedback, it fills up positive, it fills up to trigger the positive event. When you have a negative one, it decreases. It floats back and forth. When you uncheck this one, as soon as it fills up, you have a negative event, it jumps back to the middle. So you need to really fill up for a certain, like 4 seconds, 5 seconds, depending on the difficulty settings. As soon as you, like for 1 millisecond, you have a negative feedback, it will jump straight back to 0.0. This is why we have as a default the linear progress. Now, what are these expert profiles? I showed you easy, medium, hard, extreme, and it really depends on every game. For example, the Focus Master, the character floats, if you go on easy, up super fast, down very slowly, which is an easy gameplay. It has nothing to do with any threshold settings. Also, if you go on auto thresholds, these expert profiles will not change any threshold settings, also no auto threshold settings. If you go on extreme, the character flows up very slowly, but it drops down super fast. So this is also influencing if people say, I don't like that game, it's too hard, but you feel like, well, the success rate is 55 or 60. This is a good, I cannot make it any easier. I need a neurofeedback effect. Here, at least the gameplay stays motivated, but still there is a feedback direction 1 or 2. With the puzzle, this is something you can play around. If you press easy, there's only huge, big pieces and very few pieces. And there's another effect. It travels very fast to the target. And if you have a negative feedback, it needs forever to go back. So you solve the puzzle rather quickly, and you have very big puzzle pieces. And if you go on extreme, there's a ton of puzzle pieces, and it goes super slow to the right direction, and it flies back rapidly. Now, if you say, okay, let's go with medium, I selected a puzzle, and then you say, well, let's change to extreme, it will not split up the leftover puzzles into small pieces, but it will change the moving speed. So you need, obviously, before you click on a puzzle, you need to press, decide if you want the pieces amount of puzzle pieces. You need to press before you enter, you press a puzzle and decide this one. But you can always change it within while a game is running. But sometimes here with the puzzle, it won't have an effect on the puzzle pieces, the amount. Other games, Tetris, for example, the drop speed is barely increasing. With a negative feedback, it takes very long to get blurry. And here, If you go on extreme, it's very extreme, trust me. Media center, as I said, easy means the dimmer minimum transparency here jumps to 25, but this is super easy. I think rather with the media center, to be honest, the easy, medium, hard, extreme is for how fast does the screen turn super bright, or how slow or fast will it turn dark, and the same for volume. So I would go with medium and then customize the volume and the dimmer transparency anyways, but this is also what it does with the media center. Now, what you can always do is here with the media center, play around with that and maybe compare to easy, medium, hard, extreme. I showed you that before. Now, training routines. A lot of people ask us, well, okay, now you said there are 3 categories and there's game with controller, no controller. Some people just watch movies. What do you guys do? Here's the favorite answer. It depends. But here's some examples, what I think is a good routine. If you have a person that says, I have a lack of focus, I have attention problems, or a person that says, I'm a little stressed, but you know, I still go to my job or to school, but I want to do something for me. So if you train focus or like a control of maybe ruminating thoughts, you need just a balance to get into a certain all daily rhythm, and you want to have an economic mode for your brain. What I do, I usually like to start with games, because if you start with a movie, people usually then, well, hate is a strong word. They don't like if you then in the middle of their show on Netflix say, okay, stop, we're gonna watch this next time, now we play games. They kind of need to then wake up and say, okay, let's do this. Might be a good approach, but usually I like to start with a game with no controller. You see, rather short. It's potentially always the same game. So to kind of have a ritualization, like an arrival moment, a routine, just like in sports, when some people that are tennis teachers, they say we run around in a circle for 5 circles, and people kind of hate it. But if you then switch that routine, they kind of say, why not running in circles today? Or you don't even have to tell them. They arrive and they start running in circles. This is good. This is a ritualization. This brings them to this neurofeedback rhythm and makes them forget maybe negative thoughts or events during the day. So you link also a game towards this neurofeedback session. And this is what I like to do. Why no controller? Because with a controller, then you have some action, and then you kind of have to decide, oh, level 7 today, or we already played that level. There's no negotiating with an infinite game like Ocean Dive or like the Focus Master. It's just, yeah, let's play that. And then I like to continue with the game with either no controller as well, right? It can be a longer game like also 7 Seas or here applications that you have with Pirate Islands. Here, for example, it's a very long game. I will come to that. And it is quite challenging when you play with controller. It's kind of like a stress, not in a super hard way, but it's performing under pressure. You kind of want that dragon to reach that goal. It is motorical challenge for you, and you need some frustration tolerance to stay with it. And because you say, I do have a controller, I should be able to solve this. I play at home on my Xbox or my PlayStation the entire day. And so then I like to move to movie towards the end. Why? You switch off the consciousness. You have this implicit subconscious learning. So you, at some point in positive matter, you say, you know what, I just want to watch that movie, but your subconscious is playing a game without really knowing the rules. So this is kind of nice to also get a feeling for, to also get a feeling to switch off and trust how is your daily life transfer. Well, it also happens quite a lot automatically. And it's motivating, gives you a reward, because towards the end you say, okay, I get to watch my favorite show. Make sure if you watch a movie, something, and it's done, that you tell them your homework is the next day. Next time you come to me, you don't have to think about a new movie. You check out Netflix at home and you tell me what we're going to watch. Now, what I also like to do is play a game, start with a game with controller, like a game that has a lot, like for example, Dragon Bay level 10. It will take forever, and you don't want to play half of a level and do this every time, because they at some point going to say, why do we play level 10 if we never finish it? So make sure if you maybe want to go for a long run, that you then start with a game with controller, and then you can also do the same, watch a movie. Because if you start with the game and then you have 8 minutes, then controller game, and then you watch, I don't know, 7 minutes of movie, it's not a nice routine. school, or generally exercise, like it says schlaukopf.de. I know this is for all English speaking people here. They're gonna think, what's that? It's just an example, and it's I'm not getting paid by this website. What you see here is there are websites that have school content on it, and you can go on a certain class and say, let's do English, and say, here's multiple choice exercises, and you drag this over to the screen. You drag it over to the screen of your patient, and what you then do is you use the media center. Okay, here, let's go dimmer, completely pitch black. Press show, and now open on my screen, and drag it over, just like with a movie, and press start. You can go full screen, or you can just drag it a little bit to a certain size. And then the person needs, for example, with SMR focus training, needs to focus in order to tell you the right answer. In order to tell you the right answer. And just when the person has the right answer, you can read, you can then click and read the right answer. So this is a nice way also to have a daily live school transfer. Parents like that, I like that. Important, when the dimmer is black, like right now I'm clicking, it doesn't do anything. It needs to be completely transparent. So sometimes I like to drag it over here and then press the right answer. So this is also something where you might want to look into learning platforms. And this is for a constant focus. Sorry, it's supposed to be a C. And also frustration tolerance, because then people, or like, kids say, I don't want to play, I don't want to do school exercise today, which is also right. We're not there for, Julie said it's Khan Academy in the US. So yeah, you're going to find, thank you. You're going to find some of those websites. And so it's nice because there you have this transfer, and it might be a little bit frustrating, but you're not there to just do schoolwork. So don't overdo it. And afterwards, I usually do a movie. If we say, okay, it's vacation time, we only do 5 or 10 minutes, then you can do a game, like an infinite game, where you just sneak in a couple of minutes. Do this at the beginning. If you watch a movie and then we do school exercise, they will have to go to the bathroom. They will not stay with it. Then you can also just watch a movie. Some people say I'm always just watching a movie. It's fine. What I like though to do when I watch a movie, I like to combine it with games, to be honest. And the games towards the beginning. When you do a movie, I do it when people are very young clients or have strong diagnoses like autism or stress. When people are super stressed, chronic stress patients, they sit there and you say, here's a monk. It flies up when your brain relaxes. They're going to sit there and they're going to turn their head towards you like every 3 minutes and say, but I kind of did relax. I think I did it right. When you put them in front of a movie, and this would be the second thing, get used to neurofeedback as a therapy. They have no idea what neurofeedback is. They maybe read online, but they never experienced it. Then you kind of tell them, just watch a movie. It gets dark and bright, and the volume gets turned up or down. And this is your brain is figuring out the rules automatically. You just watch a movie, and later on, I can show you a few games. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions, you maybe then do, and this is a case where you could also do towards the end, say, now we watched a movie, kind of got it. Here's how it would have been with the game. Next time we play a game at the beginning. This is where I like to also use a movie, just the entire time. Now, if you do relaxing routines, I know it's 6, or it's in your time zone, whatever it is, full hour. I'm gonna speed up, almost done. For relaxation, a controlled slowing down your brain, controlled letting go, or testing your limits. What do I mean with testing your limits? I like to do music with eyes closed or do a podcast, entire training time. Here our appointments, they are 50 minutes long, and for that we do 35 to 40 minutes of pure neurofeedback training. You can do, for example, PZ alpha go equals reward, so more alpha training. This would be like a controlled slowing down. What do I mean with testing your limits? Sometimes what I like to do is I do just training alpha 2 up, so reward, and then towards half of the session I say, okay, now we switch training protocol. Now you need to go even deeper, testing your limits, but don't fall asleep. So don't drift too much into theta mode. A little tip, if you, for that configuration, you would need 3 electrodes, and no, this configuration is fine. I will come to the 3 electrode tip later on, sorry. Here, this would be the one. So what you can also do is you can play the same routine as in the beginning. Difference here is though that you have two different training protocols, and the first one is ZZ SMR, and the second one would be, for example, a PZ Alpha Reward training protocol. So the second half is not a movie, the second half is a music or a podcast with eyes closed. And so a little tip, what you can do is you place ZZ is the active electrode, then you have your reference behind your ear, and then the ground can usually go wherever you want. So here in this setup, you can place the ground on PZ, and then when you switch towards half of the training, you just need to switch the cables. So you plug ZZ into PZ, so you switch the active channel to the PZ electrode and the ground towards ZZ. And this is also a nice combination for people that say, I want like a control, a balance, a focus. So this would be the ZZ SMR training, but then also try to let go after like a focus or controlled mode. This is also a nice combination you can do. But as always, I like to say, keep the body guessing. We need routines, but we also need a variety of games and a variety of things where we sometimes say, you know what, today we start with the different games. And then people say, I don't know, I don't like that. Well, it's going to be that way in real life as well. So with all those games and all the theory you heard behind the games and infinite games and planned games, please still play around a little bit and play also with the advanced settings. Now, next webinar is October 19th. We will also send out emails, and the topic is going to be update available. We're going to release a new BrainAssistant version. Right now we have 5, and this is going to be 6.0. And spoiler alert, it's going to be about reports and statistics, so how you can analyze sessions. I did in August in a webinar, I told you we're working on it. Now we made huge progress with it, and we also want it to be serious. We want it to be fine looking, but we also want it to be easy to understand, but yet you need to also pitch it, explain it, and have a deeper look. So mark that on your calendar, save the date, and now you know that one. Check out our websites and also write us emails and infos. You will get this webinar, the recorded webinar. We're gonna send the PDF slides and the video to you afterwards, including the invite for the webinar on October 19th. Hopefully you learned a little bit today, everybody, and as I said, play around with those settings. So not always think I need to adjust the thresholds to make the training more demanding or harder or easier. There's way more towards it to, I don't know, challenge a person training without just setting the threshold super hard and then they barely hear the movie. It can be the sensitivity, for example. So I think let's call it a day. Thanks for attending, and thanks for everybody who watched this when we recorded this. Yeah, thank you, Marco. And I would say, whatever time zone you're in, have a nice day or have a nice night. And I see you in latest in October 19th. So take care and bye-bye.